Welcome to week 7 of the Sunday Spread. Feels good, doesn't it?
Feels great.
My illustrious and beautiful colleagues, I'm here with
Somebody
Devin
must have had
Caney,
a great day.
Barrett Brooks, I'm Sean Bell.
Great weekend?
It was a good weekend. Not going to lie to y'all, it was a good past weekend. I won a lot of bets, won a lot more than I lost. It was fruitful for me. Again, even though I didn't bet a lot of money, a lot came back. So it was fruitful for me. So I'm just feeling good.
You're in a good
on the
mood.
Sunday Spread. In a great mood right now, despite my Mets being a little bit of a shaky situation
I was
right
going to
now.
say, Mets hat today.
Yeah,
so.
no Mets hat. Not after the Dodgers did what the Dodgers did.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Blanking a shutout. But still, go Mets. I know y'all don't like to hear that. But again, this is the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. As we do every week, we start off of where we were right and where we were wrong. Who would like to start? Because I got a lot of right.
I think you should start because you clearly have a lot to talk about.
We might not.
That went right.
That might be the whole segment. Well, I'll go first. What went wrong? My Eagles. How in the world do you only score 20 points on a team that didn't score a touchdown and you only won by 4 points?
That's so Philadelphia. Y'all won, and you starting off with where you went wrong.
4 points?
You were right about them winning.
4 points.
So this isn't even a wrong.
Still 4 points.
I was going to
so
save this when we talk about the Eagles, but let me just say on this. So I know it's frustrating. I think that everyone is a little bit tight here in Philly.
Yes.
The Phillies, got knocked out way too early. The Eagles just have not been, playing fun, great football. If you look at that game, because it is obviously we all wanted and needed a blowout win against the Browns.
I needed it too.
The Browns scored on a blocked field goal kick, and they ran it back.
Yeah.
Without that, the score looks a lot different, and
Way
it does look a lot more lopsided towards the Eagles. So I also just think that maybe we need to all take a deep breath. They still won. I think they're going to beat the Giants by a lot this week, and we'll get into that later in the show.
But Dev, we still haven't scored a point in the first quarter.
I know. It's frustrating.
Come on
Trust
now.
me.
And then
Welcome to Philadelphia.
Y'all sound like y'all need a therapy session.
Right.
You guys okay?
And then
No.
another thing. Once again, I was too high on Dallas.
Thank you.
I
was about to roast you. I couldn't wait till you got to this. We tweeted this out and everything.
I know, man. I mean,
You learned
fight.
You learned your lesson. Then.
yes. They didn't even have a fight. They just rolled over. You know what I'm saying? You didn't even try to fight. You didn't give a counterpunch. You just took that shellacking and liked it. And I'm not mad. I'm glad. But at the end of the day, it was a bad bet for me. I lost that bet.
Mm-hmm.
But then
all the things you said about Aaron Glenn and that defense.
shut them all the way down. All the way down. Yeah. And then, good. The Steelers beat up on the Raiders. Bad. Made them trade their receiver. I like that. That was a good bet for me. Falcons was just too easy. But, other than that, I knew Texans also. It was a good bet for me also, beating up on the Patriots. So I'm done now. I'm done sulking in my Eagle Blues. And then, I tried to go out there and really talk positive about a Cowboy team. That's my fault. Never again.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah, I learned my lesson.
It was the Philly sports god saying,
Yeah.
Barrett, not supposed to do that. All right, should I go before we let Sean go?
Yeah. If you want to talk this time, because he's got a lot of good stuff.
I'll start with what went wrong for me, what I was wrong about. I will take the L. I thought that the Saints could cover against the Buccaneers. Buccaneers put up a 50 burger on the Saints, +1, 51-27 was the final there. Saints are also just getting absolutely decimated by injuries, and we'll talk about that later throughout the show, I'm sure. But Chris Olave, they're just dropping like flies over there.
Are.
But I was way wrong on that. Where else was I wrong? Cardinals, Packers. a lot of my props, I thought James Conner was going to go off against that Packers defense that's been pretty bad against the run. He had like less than 30 rush yards.
Wow.
I was saying that James Conner is going to score, maybe even score 2 touchdowns.
Right.
He's going to get 100 rushing yards like he did the week before. I was wrong on that. Let's see, where else? So Eagles won, not as convincing as we wanted. Texans did win. I was right about the Ravens beating the Commanders. I was wrong about how much. I thought the Ravens were really going to bring the Commanders back down to earth. And, they won by 7 points. That Derrick Henry anytime touchdown is just becoming a constant. I mean, he's always going to give you that. And I love that.
And maybe 2.
And what's that?
And maybe 2.
Right.
Oh, yeah. And maybe multiple. And maybe
Right.
multiple. But yeah, it was a mixed bag for me. I think the game where I had the most like props hit and everything was in that Ravens Commanders game. Because I did predict, even the Ravens, pass catching options like Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews. I thought that they were going to have a big game because the Commanders defense, even though their offense is really impressive this year, their defense is still really bad. Ranks in the bottom of the league in a lot of categories. So Ravens definitely exploited that and got the win.
Well, I mean, you said my guy, Mark Andrews.
Tight ends.
Tight ends are back, baby.
They're
Woo!
heating up.
Had a
It's
better
the
week. They had a
season
better
of tight
week.
end had a slow start, and I do have some tight end props that we'll get into
There we go.
later in
There
the
we
show.
go.
I do. They're starting to do stuff.
They're starting to do stuff. I'm not going to take much credit because at the end of the day, I think this is the first week where what was supposed to happen happened.
Yes.
We didn't
Yeah,
have
that's
the
true.
upsets, the 5 or 6 upsets, and if they were underdogs, that ain't a real underdog. You know what I mean? Like it was all things that you could have predicted. We didn't have not one game where you go shocker.
Right.
You know what I mean? Shocker. The Ravens go down to whoever, or the Niners go down to the Cardinals, or some big team loses to some mediocre team. The Panthers win. The Broncos get a big upset. We didn't have any of those. So really, if you just bet games and said, hey, I think things are going to be normal this week, you were going to win money. Because all the game bets that I had, and a lot of mine, I just parlayed money lines, went right. Right? If you look at all the games this past week, there's only one game that I stayed away from, Cardinals-Packers. Every other game, I said, I'm just going to money line. I think the Colts will win. I think the Bears are going to win, just money line style. And all of them went through.
You tried to pull me into that too, because my Cardinals. You tried to pull me in. I was like, nah, I ain't gonna do it.
Yeah, I left. I was so unsure about the
Yeah,
Cardinals-Packers game that I left it alone. But every other game, I said, I'm just going to parlay it and see what happens. And I didn't parlay all the games together. I do the 1 o'clock games and then the 4 o'clock game.
That's smart.
And they both hit. And I was just like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
what I thought would happen. So those are the good things. Also,
This was the first week I didn't take any sides or money lines because every week so far up until now it hasn't hit. It's failed absolutely miserably. So of course the 1 week I don't. Maybe I'll try again this upcoming week.
maybe all is right and regular with the NFL once again.
Maybe.
That's what we're hoping. And my anytime touchdowns hit. Right, the guys that I thought Najee Harris went in and had a big touchdown.
Huge touchdown.
Derrick Henry I threw in there just because you don't make any
you gotta
money.
sprinkle in it, Derrick Henry.
You don't make any money if you bet them straight up, but if you throw them in the parlay, it just
Yeah.
adds a little bit of sauce to the bet. Stephon Diggs, you know what I mean, had 77 yards and a touchdown. I had him scoring a touchdown in this game, so I had multiple just parlays, touchdown parlays that hit. J.K. Dobbins I threw out in there in my TD parlay. That would help it hit. So that was a parlay that hit, and then I just bet the games. Right, and I just bet the games, and it came out normal. It came out normal.
You went with Mike too, right?
I didn't put Mike Evans on.
Oh, okay.
You
said
didn't?
you was.
I didn't. I said I was, but I didn't.
That's surprising.
Something
Right.
about
Really
me said,
surprised.
I'm going to stay away from Mike.
Hey, did
in
you
this
know that
game.
Mike Evans is one of the best wide receivers?
Top 10, 9 or 10. He's 9 or 10. That's all I'm saying. He's 9 or 10. So that went well for me. What didn't go well for me, and I always text y'all when something ridiculous happens. I had a 6-leg parlay in the Buffalo Bills New York Jets game. And they were simple parlays, too. It was Dalton Kincaid over 25 yards. It was just simple stuff. This guy over 50 yards, simple stuff. Keon Coleman over 25 yards, simple stuff. Josh Allen over 25 yards rushing.
That's like taking candy from a baby. I would
Come on,
think.
man.
I
That's
would
Josh
think, yeah.
freaking Allen.
Right. Easy. Light work.
It didn't look good all game. Last play of the game, basically, to seal it. He keeps it, rolls out to the left side. He slides.
Oh.
He slides, which ended him at 21 yards. Then he kneeled it
Ooh.
twice, so I think he ended at 19 yards. But he slid. He had all the room in the world to get an extra 5, but decided to slide. And that took away another bet at the end of that game that would have won me $70. Again, not a big one, but $70 because you wanted to slide. So again, every week I have a little bit of a horror story, which is absolutely annoying. So let's get to the things that is happening, because every week it seems like something's happening, and every week it seems like something's happening with the New York Jets.
Yeah, they just loved the attention. They loved to be the center of everything.
And the attention is Davante Adams.
Yeah.
Right? Davante Adams wanted to go play for one of his guys, either Derek Carr or obviously Aaron Rodgers. He gets his wish. Aaron Rodgers was throwing his receivers under the bus. Mike Williams threw him under the bus at the end of the game, said it's his fault that I threw an interception, because Aaron Rodgers likes to throw everybody else under the bus. That's what he does his entire life. But he gets Davante Adams. Barrett, I'll start with you. What does that trade do for the New York Jets?
To me, it does absolutely nothing, because it was all on A-Rod in the first place. You know what I mean? I mean, he has decent receivers out there. That had nothing to do with why they're losing games. I mean, he hasn't been playing up to the level that he's been usually playing at. So, all right, you brought him in. We'll see. And you know what? I'm starting to see something now. All these big name players that turn into GMs, how is it working for them? How is it working for them? Look at my Phillies.
Yeah.
How's it working for them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This is a roster that they put together. Well, and
no, it's a good point.
It doesn't work.
It's a good point.
And look at LeBron the past 5 years. How's it work for him?
Yeah.
So these players becoming GMs, what has it done? Nothing. They ain't gonna win anything. It's not gonna help them. They're an average team, and they still won't win their division. They won't win their division.
Dev, what you got?
It's a really good point. It's a really good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like across multiple sports too. I agree. I mean, I don't know what to make of this Jets team. I don't think anyone does. Like, we don't know how big of an impact Davante Adams is going to have. It just seems like Aaron Rodgers his strategy is like rebuilding his Packers team of years past and reliving his glory days. And the truth is, Aaron Rodgers is just getting older. Like, it could be him who's the problem. It's also nasty work to fire your coach, change offensive coordinators, and then bring in a better receiver.
Right.
What? I mean, if I was Robert Saleh, I would not be too happy about that, but I'm sure he's not happy about any of it. I mean, I think it could help a little bit, but like Barrett mentioned, they already have Garrett Wilson. They already have Lazard. Like, they have Breece Hall. Like, they have options for Rodgers to get the ball to regardless on offense. I think the issue has been offensive scheme as well, and maybe we'll see that start to evolve with more options for Rodgers to get the ball to, but I don't know if we'll see that necessarily like this week. But it's also just seems like a desperate move in a way.
Yeah. And Aaron Rodgers, you stink.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, first of all, let me say this to Davante Adams.
He's Harper.
Stop trying to play with your friends.
Right.
It hasn't worked out for you.
Right.
He left Green Bay and said, I want to go play with my friend Derek Carr.
Yeah.
Right? Despite the Raiders not being a good organization, despite Derek Carr not being an elite quarterback, he wanted to go play with his old college friend. How'd that work out with him? Now he wants to leave the Raiders. I want to play with my old buddy Aaron Rodgers, who's 41 years old, coming off an Achilles and hasn't looked very good. But I want to go play with my friend. Mm-hmm. You are 31 years old. You're towards the end of your prime. You still got another 5 good years as a solid wide receiver, and you want to go play for that organization with that quarterback that won't be there that long?
Oh, he's got Allen Lazard there with him, too.
Yeah, you're destroying your career. You know what it kind of reminds me of? And this is a player I love, so it's not disrespect. It reminds me of Carmelo Anthony and the decisions he made during free agency that makes him be looked at in a way that's different. Mm-hmm. Right? Why go to the Knicks? You know how bad that organization is. You could have went to the Chicago Bulls and played with Derrick Rose. Like, why? Like, once you signed with the Knicks and saw how dysfunctional it was, why'd you extend your contract? Right? Like, if you would have made the correct free agent decisions or trade decisions, you would have been looked at as a higher light. Mm-hmm. Davante Adams is the same thing. You are making the wrong decisions for your career, kid. Mm-hmm. And it's unfortunate because when he's at his best, he's looked at as a top 2 or 3 wide receiver in the league. But you know what I mean? He's looked at that, but people have not put him in that category over the last 5 years because he's with a bad organization with a suspect quarterback. So he can just get to a situation where he can be with CJ Stroud or one of those big times, then he would have been looked at as a Mike Evans, top 10 wide receiver of all time. You know what I mean? He would be looked at as that, but he's not. So that's.
I mean, look at Diggs. Diggs got his career rejuvenated again.
Yeah.
Down there playing with the young boy. You know what I mean? I mean, you just got to do that, man. You got to make the right decisions, and he's definitely not making the right. Davante Adams, anywhere. I mean, even if Davante Adams was here in Philly, monster.
Just go somewhere. Again, you've had the opportunity to go somewhere that's great right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't made that decision, whether it's I'm going to force my way to Baltimore, I'm going to force my way to somewhere with a young or a prime, really good quarterback. But
Steelers wanted him bad, too.
You go to the Steelers, even though, again, he may have not gotten a rock that much with the Steelers.
No.
Go somewhere that can elevate your career, and he hasn't done that. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about the other trade in the division. What that may do to the Buffalo Bills, Amari Cooper. That's pretty big time in its own. All right, and we'll look at all the games. Upsets. We always do that in the second segment. Wasn't a lot last week, but I have a feeling there's going to be a couple this week. So we're going to go over upsets of the week for Week 7. This is the Sunday Spread. Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Once again, welcome back to the Sunday Spread presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. And, of course, you can get us everywhere. All right, wherever you can find BetQL, you can find us. Twitter, Twitch, and all those other good things. Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney kicking it with you. Before we get to upset picks of the week, let's go to the other big trade. We talked about Davante Adams going to the New York Jets. Well, the Buffalo Bills now have a new weapon, have a new toy, Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper wasn't happy in Cleveland. Obviously, you know why. Deshaun Watson stinks, right? The Cleveland Browns weren't going anywhere, and he wasn't able to shine as a wide receiver. Now he goes to a situation where he has a top 5 quarterback in the league and a team that consistently makes the playoffs. So that can boost this team who just, they no longer have Gabe Davis. They no longer have Stephon Diggs. So they got young guys like Keon Coleman trying to step up, but now they got a veteran wide receivers that's used to being the number one. Dev, start with you this time. What does Amari Cooper do for the Buffalo Bills?
A lot. I think this is much more massive in terms of impact that he'll have on an offense compared to the Rodgers and Davante Adams to the Jets trade, because Josh Allen is playing some of the best football that we've seen him play in his career right now.
Yes.
And he doesn't have, that stud receiver. He just doesn't have those options. So if you consider what he's done so far this season, it's actually very impressive. Like, he hasn't turned the ball over, and we know that that's something that's plagued Josh Allen in his career. Just in recent seasons, not even just last season. So I think that he is going to help immensely. I think the Bills are a good team, and he will push them to be a great team because he just gives Josh Allen that safe option to get the ball to. So I like it.
Yeah, me too.
I love it. You're talking about, pairing him up with this young kid, Keon Coleman, 2 big wide receivers, guys that can get open. And, it puts Shakir, he's going to play lights out now because it takes all the attention, goes away from everywhere. And now you got, Shakir right now. He's been balling, man. He's that guy in the slot that's always been able to go out there and all of a sudden out of the blue, he's got like 80 yards, and a catch to, just keep the chains moving. It's going to help them, because right now they don't have James Cook. They have reliable receivers now, unbelievable receivers. So right now, their number 1 receiver was Mac Hollins, backpack boy, Mac Hollins. And Mac Hollins has been balling.
Khalil Shakir has been their top yardage wise.
Well, I mean, backpack boy's been balling too. You know what I'm saying? He is. Okay, he walks into the stadium, no shoes on. Say what you want to say, he's been balling.
You know what? It's funny. Your opinion of Mac Hollins is what makes this funny because you say he's balling. He has 7 receptions for 81 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Well, this last game.
But that's balling. That's balling for Mac Hollins. Based on the Eagles' experience with Mike Hollins, you're like, oh, you playing football now.
Yes.
So that's balling for Mac.
Well, I watched this last game and focused on him, and he was doing some big things, man. Scored the winning touchdown.
And it's what makes this such a good trade for me is you look at their receivers. The highest reception total for any receiver is Dalton Kincaid at 21. So over 6 games, your leading receiver has 21 receptions. That's a little over 3 a game. That's nothing. So now he has a blanket. Now he has someone he could just count on and say, I could just throw, you can get all the targets. Like when I get in trouble, I can just throw it to you. Right now it's spread out. You got Shakir with 20 receptions. You got Kincaid with 21. You got Keon Coleman with 12. James Cook 11. Samuels 12. Like it's no standout.
Right.
So now they have a standout, and now he can throw to somebody where I know where you're gonna be, and now they have a big time weapon. Because again, Shakir, who's their leading receiver, under 50 yards a game, right? So their pass game has been great.
Mm-hmm.
They've been able to get it done because Josh Allen's spreading out and he's so good, but they haven't been dynamic. They haven't been over the top, and Amari Cooper allows them to be dynamic and over the top.
So now you have a scheme. Now Joe Brady has somebody he can scheme.
Yeah.
He can scheme somebody now. You know, that's a huge difference from what he had before. It was like, all right, let me pick somebody out of this hat. All right, it's your turn. Now he has somebody he can really scheme.
Yeah.
It makes a difference.
The last sort of trade thing I'll talk about before we get in these bets. Hassan Reddick. We know him well in Philadelphia.
I just can't believe it's week 7 and we're still like talking about it. Not that it's like I just can't believe that he's prolonged this or made it go on this long. Like it's crazy.
And now he's hired the big dog.
Yeah.
Man, his name just is
Rosenhaus.
Drew
Rosenhaus.
Yeah.
He hired the big dog. They're asking for trades. The crazy thing we were just talking about during the break, if he gets traded back to the NFC, the Eagles get another draft pick. Which second round. I've never heard that before. Like you can't trade him back in our conference, not our division, our conference, or we get an extra pick. So it's basically going to be AFC teams, right? So he's going to be traded to an AFC team. What do you think about Hassan?
But will it? Like, do the Jets care about what the Eagles get in a draft that much? You know what I'm saying? Like, why not? It's not like it's a divisional opponent. It's not like it's the Cowboys or the Giants or the Commanders. Like, I get that would give them competitive advantage, but
you still got to give them a second-round pick.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't want to give
up
if
the offers, I mean, if I was the Jets at this point, I would just want to wipe my hands clean in the situation and not be picky about where he goes. But I get it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at it right now. The team that's needing his services the most right now is an NFC team, and that's the Detroit Lions. I mean, they need him in the worst way. They'd probably be willing to give anything. I mean, they're in a playoff run. They're definitely in a playoff run. So you would have to entertain them thoughts. With Aiden Hutchinson being out, you would have to entertain him being a viable Detroit being a viable landing spot for him.
Yeah. That would be the spot because they're going to be looking for anybody they can get defensive end wise. Max Crosby, their defense is already bad. If they don't have an Aiden Hutchinson, it's going to look real bad. All right, let's get to upsets, and I'm gonna start this thing off.
Okay.
Because I feel like I have to start this thing off because this seems ridiculous. As a 49er person.
Mm-hmm.
I know they're at home, and I know you get 3 points when you're at home. For the Chiefs to be underdogs against the San Francisco 49ers right now seems
ridiculous.
Unbelievably ridiculous. Right? The Chiefs whoop the 49ers every time they play. Well, not whoop, all right? They went to overtime in the Super Bowl, but they've beaten the 49ers at least the last 3 times they played, 2 of which was in the Super Bowl. Right? You got Patrick Mahomes. I know they don't have Rashee Rice. I know they don't have Isaiah Pacheco, but they got a top 5 defense, and they continue to just win, and they're 5-0. Meanwhile, the San Francisco 49ers, and again, we're going to talk about big games later, so maybe we'll expand upon it, but I feel like I had to touch upon it now, are hurt beyond belief.
Mm-hmm.
Their backup kicker got hurt. I've never, and this is new to football to me. Maybe y'all understood this already, but I've never understood this until watching the 49ers this year, how important backup linebackers are.
Oh, yeah.
The 49ers special teams is trash. Both of their kickers got hurt because they had to go tackle somebody. And, kickers are fragile. And they got hurt while trying to tackle a kick returner. And everyone explained to me, yeah, all their backup linebackers are hurt. That affects the special teams.
Well,
that's why the 49ers special teams looks terrible right now. That's why Devin White, who was with the Philadelphia Eagles, hey, you want to play special teams? We need you to play special teams. If not, get out of here, right? We need, because it's important for your backup linebackers to be great. So now if you got practice squad linebackers in there, your special teams ain't going to look good. So their special teams doesn't look good. They're hurt all over the place. Christian McCaffrey's still out. They were on their 5th string running back on the Thursday night game. Their 5th-string rookie running back on the Thursday night game, Talon Ufanga, went back out. The 49ers are ravaged with injuries. The Kansas City Chiefs beat them even when they're not injured. How are they underdogs here? So that's the first one that I'm going to pick out right off the bat is the Chiefs over the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, I still believe the 49ers have a chance to win. But never in my life am I picking the Chiefs at underdog. I believe they have a chance. I believe it will be a tight game that goes back and forth only because the Chiefs haven't played that well this year. But still in that, I'm not daring to pick the 49ers. I'm not going to put my money on it. I'm putting my money on the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean the Chiefs haven't lost in 11 games. They're on an 11-game win streak. They're 4-0. Mahomes is 4-0 against the 49ers. He's 9-1 after bye, including the postseason.
And they're coming off a bye.
2-0 against Brock Purdy. I don't know. We'll get into that game later because I have some thoughts on it. But my underdog pick, another one I'm pretty shocked over, but I guess if you consider their opponent, the Detroit Lions. They absolutely destroyed the Dallas Cowboys last week. Sorry, Barrett. I mean, your Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, that hurt.
Oh, she put that on you. She put the "your" on you. Okay.
I just still can't believe that you won with them. But you know what? You learned your lesson.
You wished it on me, Ricky Bobby.
I think that the Lions can absolutely win outright. So the Vikings haven't lost a game yet, but I think Sam Darnold, we started to see flashes of the Sam Darnold, we all know and love versus the 2024 MVP candidate Sam Darnold in their last game. While their defense, Minnesota's defense, is high in, statistics, analytics, whatever you want to look at, they're still allowing a lot of passing yards per game. They're allowing actually the 3rd most passing yards per game. The Detroit Lions offense is just like, I feel like it's like a worm, like you cut off the head and then another one pops up. Like they had guys who I barely heard of catching passes against the Dallas Cowboys last week. So their options are just endless. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Sam Laporta, you have Tim Patrick, you have Khalif Raymond. Like the list goes on. So I just have a good feeling. I think that the Lions can ride that momentum from their absolute shellacking of Dallas in week 6 into this game against a Vikings team that will be rested, but could also mean that they don't have that momentum on their side.
You know what?
I'm with you.
I'm with you on that too, but I think the disrespect is real. I mean, very, very real. Houston, a 3-point underdog to the Packers. Have they been watching the same team that I've been watching? The Texans are the most balanced team, I think, in the NFL right now. How they can go out there and run the rock. And C.J. Stroud, Joe Mixon is balling. Pierce is balling. But then C.J. Stroud is throwing dimes to people, man. And he all the weapons that he has. Robert Woods is out. But still, you know what I'm saying? Stephon Diggs balled. So to be a 3-point underdog to Green Bay, I think that's a travesty. I really do.
A travesty.
Yes, it is. It is.
And again, all of these may because of where they're playing. So you technically get 3 points because you're playing in Green Bay. Detroit plays in Minnesota, so they're all away games, so they're supposed to be tougher. But I'm with both of y'all. If you just go, who's the better team? All right, are they going to have problems traveling?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it also just depends on where you're traveling. And like I get home field advantage can be a very real thing. It's not a real thing for like the LA Rams or the LA Chargers, right?
Right.
I also think it's much more of a real thing the later in the season we get with weather. Like right now, playing in Green Bay, Minnesota has a dome anyways. Like it just doesn't, unless you're someone who like Jared Goff plays really well indoors. So that actually could work in his favor, right? I just think sometimes the home and away, I get how it affects the lines, but I just don't think that there's any of these games that I think that that's going to greatly affect.
So, and then you look at defensively. Green Bay's defense is a shadow of the Texans' defense. The Texans' defense are ballers. And then you look at Green Bay. Green Bay can't stop the run.
Yeah, except they stopped James Conner last week when I bet it.
Right.
When you put money on it, they'll stop it.
Of course.
The other one, and again, we're going to talk about a bunch of the big games later in depth. Steelers plus 115 versus the Jets. I know they just got Devontae Adams.
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson, again, we'll talk about that later on.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing? I don't know why. But either way, what are the Jets bad at? The trenches, the O-line. Steelers, what do? They only do the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
TJ Watt. You're trying to tell me you're going to keep TJ Watt off of Aaron Rodgers this game?
No.
You're trying to tell me the Jets who to me are the equivalent of pretty boys with how they play ain't going to get punched in the mouth by these big dogs? Like, I can't understand that. Again, I understand it's New York. I understand it's Aaron Rodgers. I understand they just got Devontae Adams, so I guess that's why they're favored. But nothing about this game tells me that the Jets will be able to beat the Steelers and be able for Aaron Rodgers to be able to get the 3 seconds he needs to even find Allen Lazard, Devontae Adams, and Garrett Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's another game where I go, I get it. I get where the game is being played. We're all picking sort of road teams to go in and win and do what they need to do.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the 49ers Chiefs game, I would still think the Chiefs, but I'm not putting money on this. But Steelers Jets, here's my money, dog. Here's my money. All right. Again, Justin Fields, I hope he plays. I don't think he is going to play. We'll talk about that later. He's going to get in the end zone. Najee Harris is going to get in the end zone. The Steelers are the ultimate punch you in the face team. And you have to be solid in the trenches. You got to be a tough team mentally and physically if you think you're going to beat that squad. So that's the one other game that I'm looking at in regards to a big time upset. All right, we're going to take another break. When we come back, anytime tutties. Bring them out. Again, that's where you win the big time money. Again, I learned that from Devin King. That's where you get the big time money. Anytime tutty. So we're going to tell you who we think is going to score any and every time they get the rock throughout the NFL Football League. All right. Sunday spread. Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney, Sean Bell. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Sunday spread presented by BetMGM. BetMGM. Ooh, what was that? Presented by BetMGM on the BetQL network. Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell kicking it with you. Now it's time for anytime touchdowns. Now it's time for the big money. All right, if you can get a parlay on this, that's going to save you for the week. That can save you for a couple weeks if you get the right anytime touchdown parlay. We'll go through a bunch of guys, a bunch of names, and see what you think of it, yay or nay. But first, I just want you guys to throw out names and tell me what you like, what parlay you may be throwing out there. Dev, as always, we got to start off with the touchdown queen.
Yeah.
What you got?
Well, first of all, I think I need to officially fade Travis Etienne, Barrett's favorite guy.
Trash!
You know what? I think I'm fading just all Jacksonville props. Like, I'm done. I'm done with you guys. You keep failing me. And I promise that I don't intentionally make a theme with these touchdown parlays, but this week's theme, Barrett's going to love this, is tight ends.
There we go.
Big week for tight ends.
Wow,
He's
converted you to tight ends.
All right, so we got 3 tight ends that I'm looking to get in the end zone. First one, Sam Laporta from the Lions. Minnesota's defense is great. A blind spot for their defense has been tight ends. They're giving up a rating of over 100 to tight ends. So I like Sam Laporta getting in the end zone. I also like Dalton Schultz from the Texans. Green Bay hasn't handled tight ends well, also allowing a rating over 100 to the position. They give up 96 yards, 8 for 8 to Trey McBride. So if you also want to sprinkle in like Dalton Schultz over receiving yards, I don't know what that number is set at because his props weren't up last time I checked on BetMGM, but go for it. And George Kittle, he got in the end zone twice last week. Kansas City giving up over 105 rating to tight ends, allowed 409 yards to the position, which is the most in the NFL when they went into their bye. So Sam Laporta, Dalton Schultz, and George Kittle. That is my anytime touchdown parlay for week 7.
Oof, I like all 3.
Wait,
the ratings on that too?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I might have to put a little money on that too.
You know what? I faded him last week. I kind of looked away from Jacksonville and just said, you know what? I'm not sure if you're gonna have your coach next week, so I'm kind of fading away from that. But I went with Barkley. Barkley didn't do anything for me since last week. You know, Saquon. So I got to get back on the bandwagon. I'll go with Barkley anytime touchdown. Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown. Then I got to go with George Kittle. You know, I love my tight ends. You know, I gotta keep with my tight ends. George Kittle.
Yeah.
I got to go with Andrew. Back with him. You know, he did me great last week. It was great. You know what I'm saying? I got to go with him. Ravens. I mean, that's his favorite target. Then A.J. Brown, back on my list. He's back, comes back, gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
I got to put him back on my list. So anytime touchdown with A.J. Brown. And David Montgomery, he is just turning things up right now. He's
I had him
mixing
for
it
an
up,
anytime touchdown, even though I don't like betting Detroit Lions, as we
Right.
talked about. I had him also last week.
So, even with splitting the carries, he's still that work back for him. So I'm going with David Montgomery anytime touchdown.
I like it. I also was going to do a Saquon, but then I thought it'd mess up my tight end theme.
Yeah.
But I did like Saquon Barkley getting at least one touchdown against the Giants.
Yeah.
Got to get that revenge TD, you know.
Revenge. I mean, that's why you got to put him in there.
Yeah, I got Saquon too. Again, I said he would be my every week guy, and he hasn't been my every week guy so far. But, again, he has 4 touchdowns on the year, and I think, again, they're going to be like, we got to give Saquon a big-time game. We got to scheme him up. So I'm going to have Saquon also. Guys, you got to throw in Derrick Henry, right? I mean, what are we doing?
Always.
He scored. He scored in every game. I think he has 2 touchdowns in 3 games. So he scores in every game, and that's what he does. So I'm throwing that in there. Again, my theme is always heavy on the running backs and seeing what they do. Jonathan Taylor facing a Miami Dolphins team that just ain't that good. They're going to lean on the run. Joe Flacco lean on the run. Make sure they get it done, and he's going to get the rock. He has to be a workhorse to keep this team in the race. They're 3-3 right now, so I like him in that. Joe Mixon against the Packers. You can run against the Packers
All day.
And again,
See, I'm so scared to take those props now because they got squashed last week when I thought that the Cardinals were going to run all over the Packers. But you're
That's
right.
true.
You're right.
That's
I
true.
think that was an anomaly for the Packers defense versus the norm.
Me
So,
too. Especially with C.J. Stroud and the weapons they have.
Yeah.
Even though Nico Collins isn't there,
Yeah.
all the weapons they had, the way they'll throw the ball out, they can't stack the box.
You're
And
right.
because they can't
You're right.
stack the box like they did against the Arizona Cardinals, it's going to leave room for Joe Mixon to go to work and get some things done. So I like him in the bet. And Bijan's in pretty well for me. Again, even though they're facing the Seattle Seahawks, Bijan's that's going to be a last-minute one. I'm being
Okay.
honest with you.
Well, so here's my question on the Falcons because now it's almost becoming a David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs situation with Tyler Algier.
Mhm.
I never know which one to take when it comes to the Falcons, and I end up not really taking either.
Right.
Tyler Algier actually had more attempts than Bijan last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Which if you had to pick one of those two, which would you pick for a
I'm
touchdown?
going Bijan because how
You
much
think?
Bijan gets in the passing game also.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
that's
that's
true.
the good thing about the anytime touchdown. However it comes, you get
Mhm.
it. But again, Bijan also will get some passes, and also they're going to work him in to be the overall back because he's more of the overall back than Tyler is.
Well,
Yeah.
it was like that with Warren and Harris last year with
With the
Pittsburgh.
Steelers, yeah.
But
And
you know,
Harris is only getting the runs now.
Yeah. So right now, it's different. Harris is balling. So I mean, I may throw him in the mix with an anytime touchdown. And he's playing angry.
Mhm.
He's got an attitude for some reason. He is playing angry. So, I might throw Harris in there also.
Would you go with Derrick Henry or Saquon having 2 touchdowns? I'm trying to look up the odds for that right now. But for any one of those guys to have 2 touchdowns, because again, Derrick Henry seems to have a great chance at it every week.
Mm-hmm.
And Saquon, he's gonna do so much against his team. He's gonna get the rock so much.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they have a tush-push situation
Mm-hmm.
They
at
might
the
put
goal
him in,
line,
yeah.
they're gonna be like, no, give it to Saquon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right? Like we want to make him happy. We want him to get revenge. So instead of the tush-push, let Saquon run in there. Let him jump over the top if he has to.
Maybe what concerns me with the Saquon is the MetLife turf. Like, I just don't know if. I mean, he used to play there all the time, so I don't know if it'll affect it. But we know that guys can get banged up on it, and if the Eagles are up, I don't know if they'd want to like protect him more.
Right.
If that would go
That's
into
good
their
thinking.
decision
That's good
making.
thinking. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, thank you.
That's good thinking. That's good thinking.
So I don't know. I'm always scared to take 2 touchdowns. I had someone last week who I did take for 2. It was like one of those just random. Like I think I had a bonus bet and just threw it in there. And they did get in the end zone twice, and then one of them was called back. I was so close, so far away.
man.
I forget who it was. I'll go back and check.
Again, and listen, if We can also do first touchdowns. Dev, I know you like to do first touchdowns sometimes.
I was on a roll. The first 3 to 4 weeks of the season, I was getting at least 2 first touchdown scores for almost 2 games a week. It was crazy.
Anybody looking at, would you go Saquon first touchdown?
You know what? I do kind of like that. Just get it to him early. And he would be the one to get the Eagles to score in the first quarter for the first time this season. How poetic.
Right. Yes,
How poetic.
Yes.
We know that Nick Sirianni likes to be cute like that. So, sure.
I mean, that could be one. And
I like that.
BetMGM has a special promo that even if you don't get that first touchdown, you can get your money back.
There
With BetMGM's Pro Football Second Chance, they're giving you a second chance on first TD bets this season. Place any first touchdown score wager, and if your player doesn't score first, but scores second, get your entire money back in cash.
Risk-free.
No
Love
options. Risk-free. All right,
Love
so
it.
you can use that bet to get your money back. Oh, if he doesn't score in the first quarter, but scores in the second quarter, but it's the second touchdown, boom, your money back, and you can put it back into something else.
I'll give you another scenario with that. Would you take Jalen Hurts or Josh Allen?
I go Josh.
You go Josh?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. Especially because I think Saquon is going to get all those things that Jalen Hurts would normally get because it's a revenge game. I think they give it to Saquon instead in New York.
All right.
A correction, in New Jersey. But I think they would do that for him.
I was Tony Pollard to get 2 touchdowns. He almost had 2, and then it was called back.
Of course.
It's probably the only time I've ever bet on the Titans this season.
It's always called back. Let me throw out some
Always.
guys for you for anytime touchdowns. Tell me if you like any of these guys. Again, you already said David Montgomery at -165. Let's go Kenneth Walker against the Falcons, -160. Yay or nay?
So I do like that, even though he has been pretty quiet the last 2 weeks. He hasn't done a lot, but I do like him against the Falcons defense. So I'll take that. I like it.
Okay.
Do you?
I do like it.
You do?
It's not one that I'm 100%
Right,
sure.
I'm
It's
not
not one
like,
of those
yeah,
I'm like,
that's
yeah,
great.
that's
Right,
it. That's
right,
what,
right,
it's one of those,
Yeah.
but
I like it, but I had to be talked into it by the end of the show. You know what I mean? By the end of the show.
All right. Justin Jefferson against the Detroit Lions, -155. Again, you talk about how Aaron Glenn's defense isn't very good. They don't have Aiden Hutchinson. Should be a high-scoring game. Would you like Justin Jefferson getting in the end zone?
No question. No question. Justin Jefferson, to me, that's a safe bet. Justin Jefferson is the real deal. So, yeah.
You like it, Dev?
Yeah. I don't feel I don't love it, but he's so good that he's the type of player no matter what kind of defense he's facing, even though the Lions defense, especially their secondary, isn't that great, he's going to get in the end zone. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Let's go with Josh Allen. We talked about -120 versus the Titans. Anytime touchdowns. We just talked about him. I said I prefer Josh over Jalen, but would you put money on Josh in general to have anytime tutty?
I would not, just because assuming Amari Cooper is good to go and playing, do we have confirmation on that yet? I mean, I would assume he's playing, right?
I don't know.
If he does, I would guess that they're going to use him immediately. And if they use him, then I don't know if Josh Allen necessarily has to put it all on his own self and run it in himself. So, and the Titans aren't very good. I think that the Bills are going to be up. I feel like when a quarterback like Josh Allen runs it in himself, a lot of the times it's because he has to.
Well, then let me ask you this. The opposite is Amari Cooper +150.
Yes, I would take that. Yes.
Okay.
I wouldn't. I'd probably fade that. I would probably go with Josh Allen. Number one, because James Cook isn't playing right now. I think he's hurt, so he might be the guy running the rock down in the goal line situation. So I mean, I would go more with Josh Allen anytime touchdown.
And this prop, last one, isn't on the board yet, but would you take it depending on if it's a decent odd? Devontae Adams, do you think he gets in the end zone in his first game?
No. I don't know. No. I'm a hater.
Is that more hate or more logic? Because I'm feeling hate, and I feel you on that.
Both.
Because I like to hate
It's
also.
both. It's both.
Yeah.
But no.
He'd be the one most likely to know the offense a little more than Amari Cooper going into the same kind of situation.
Kenny just said he's betting him. Our producer says he's betting him to score twice in first. Assuming you're talking about Devontae Adams.
Wow.
That's a bit much, Kenny. That's a bit much.
I think with both him and Amari Cooper, it can go either way. Like, it's either like, boom, make an impact, here I am, or it's kind of just a quiet first game, feeling the new offense out and figuring everything out.
Nothing quiet.
I think it's just like a little bit. It can swing either way. You know.
I don't think there's anything quiet about Parker. I mean, Devontae going there.
Yeah, they're gonna. Aaron Rodgers is gonna force feed him and try to make it loud. I can see that. I just
true.
He's gonna try to make.
See,
this is why you should have did this
against that
long
Pittsburgh
time
Steelers
ago.
defense. I don't feel like it's gonna work anyway because you ain't MVP Aaron Rodgers anymore. All right, we're gonna take a break. When we come back, Kenny's gonna come in, our producer, and give us alternatives. Again, it's the big bets. It's who's gonna get over 100 yards, who's gonna get over 125 yards, who's gonna throw for 300 yards. The alternative bets that can win you a lot of money. Kenny is gonna come in and give us those when we come back. Once again, it's the Sunday Spread. Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Welcome.
Oh my God.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh.
Sorry.
Oh, Instagram.
They should, first of all, stop posting music on your Instagram posts. I don't want to. I'm never clicking that intentionally. You just set me up for failure with situations like that. So,
Right. A random post like
silence. I want silence when I open Instagram.
This music has nothing to do with your picture.
I know.
What's the point of that?
Anyways.
Welcome back to the Sunday Spread. Once again, Barrett Brooks, Devin Caney, Sean Bell. Big money time. All right, the alternative bets. Who's going to get over 100 yards, 125, 150, throw for 300? Those are the bets where you make a lot of freaking money. So let's do it. Our producer Kenny's going to come in and give us some of the alternatives that he likes or some of the alternatives he wants to hear from us from. Kenny, what you got for us?
All right, guys, let's do it. I think we got some good ones this week. Let's start with a guy that a lot of us maybe forgot about a little bit. Didn't play last week. They were on bye. Tyreek Hill, 100-plus yards this week is plus 450. I know that Tua is still out, but the Colts don't have a good secondary, and we know at any point in the game that, I think I can throw an 80-yard bomb to Tyreek Hill. Maybe not 80 in the air, but he can do the rest after a 20-yard pass. So I think Tyler Huntley might be able to do that with a week off the bye. I think Mike McDaniel will have something up his sleeve, and they're going to need him if they want a chance to win in Indy this week, because the Colts are not a bad team, but I think with the secondary that's not the best in the league, Tyreek will have a chance to take advantage. So what do you guys think about that one?
I'm going to fade this. I'm not going to alt it just because you mentioned that, we may have forgotten about Tyreek Hill. He hasn't really done a lot, without Tua. There must be something, like, I get he's the starting quarterback, but with Huntley, Hill has been very underwhelming. He's only scored one touchdown so far this season. It was in their first game. He's only gotten more than 80 receiving yards, and that was once, and that was in that first game against the Jags. Since then, it's just been very, very underwhelming. Over 130 receiving yards. I was looking at the wrong number there. But no, he's been underwhelming, so I'm fading that.
Yeah, his last 3 games is 69 yards, 23 yards, and 40 yards.
Yeah.
I can't come close to 100 yards with Tyler Huntley.
No.
Can't do it.
That's a problem, you have these players that they're so dependent on, the arm of a quarterback. Tyreek Hill is a monster. He just has nobody to throw to him. That's why Amari Cooper right now feels like he's just been freed. You know what I mean? He's just been free. He has a quarterback with a gun. So Amari Cooper's like, I'm out of here. I'm going to ball. I'm going to get 1,000. He had 1,000 yards with bums. You know what I'm saying? 1,000 yards the last 2 years with bums. Imagine what he's going to get, with Josh Allen. So, yeah, Tyreek Hill, I'm sorry. I can't go with 100 yards. Even with a bad secondary, I can't trust the quarterback can get to him.
And again, we know he's one play away from having an 80-yarder and getting over that. But again, all right, we're gonna double you and just we're gonna send somebody deep every time. You're not going to get anything with Tyler Huntley as your quarterback. So I don't know what you think, Kenny, but we fading it.
I just think it's coming. I think the Dolphins are going to need it this week, and I think they're going to try multiple times. And knowing how good of a player Tyreek Hill is, I think he's good enough to beat this Colts secondary. I don't think that I think that the Colts will be ready for it, but I do think that there's a good chance Tyreek breaks it and gets it. I just like the value as well. I think he's usually around this number regularly with Tua. And of course, it's not Tua, but I think getting a little bit of value on this, knowing that he can get that at any time, that's why I like it. And I suggested it for the segment. But let's go to one I think you guys will like a little bit more. Saquon, 100 plus yards is plus 200 in the revenge game. You know, the Giants maybe have one of the better interior defensive linemen in the league in Dexter Lawrence, but Saquon should see the ball 20 times this week. So you'd think 5 yards a pop would get him there to that 100. Not great value here, but Saquon last week only 50. I think he had 54 yards on the ground last week, so a little bit of a bounce back opportunity here.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I think he's due for a big game, and it's a good revenge game. Like, you know, he's going back to MetLife Stadium. Again, kind of circling back to what I said last segment, the only thing that worries me is if the Eagles are up by a lot, it's, you know, not really risking him. But again, Nick Sirianni looks to be cute. We know what he's going to do here. And the Eagles don't have their giant killer in Boston Scott to get the ball to anymore. So, yeah, I mean, you look back at Saquon's stats, 47-80 for the last 2 games, but he had 147 against the Saints and 109 against the Packers in week 1. So, I'll take it. I'll alt it.
You know, I'll take it too. One reason in particular, since Jordan Mailata's not going to be there, you got one-on-one pass rushing with, you know, with Burns versus Johnson, and I don't think they want to put that young man in that predicament. So I think they're going to run the ball and run the ball consistently. So since they're going to run the ball, Saquon's going to be the guy toting it. So I think he will get 100 yards. So yeah, I'm taking that.
I'm taking it, but I'm a bit hesitant because of Jordan Mailata being out. All right, the one thing good about that Giants defensive line, a Giants team, is that defensive line. Very good, very stout. And I do think Saquon is going to get a lot of touches, and I do think he's going to get into the end zone. Having 100 yards may be tougher than we think because of, again, how is that offensive line going to look? We know how it looks when Lane Johnson's out. It struggles. So Jordan Mailata being out, all right, Jordan's out. What if Lane pulls up something? I'm not wishing injury on anybody, but, you know, Lane is now at the point in his career where he comes out certain snaps or certain points in the game due to injury. It makes me hesitate a bit. That's all I'm saying. But I am with you guys, and I would make that bet. But it wouldn't be a stone cold lock. It wouldn't be one of those bets where I'm like, I feel great about it. It'd be one of my weaker feeling bets just based on Jordan Mailata being out alone.
I'd rather run at Burns than the pass block Burns.
Yeah.
Smaller guy.
And
Fred Johnson can run block. He can definitely do that.
Okay. Kenny, what you think?
Yeah, I would also hesitate as well with this one. I think that he should be able to do it, but at the same time, I think that they will be able to get him in the end zone, and he should see 20 plus touches. But it's just a matter of if it's 4 yards a pop, 3 yards a pop, and if he can eclipse that number of 100 yards that we know in the NFL, regardless of how many touches you get, is still hard to get. Let's move on to the receivers again. Let's go to a deep ball receiver who's got their quarterback right now. Let's go to Xavier Worthy, 75 plus yards, plus 425. We know he's their deep ball guy. He's still technically their number 1 receiver. I know Kelsey's there, but Rashee Rice and Marquise Brown are both out. So Xavier Worthy will have a big opportunity here against the 49ers defense. It's still a little bit banged up. 75 plus yards, plus 425. Are you guys alting that one?
I'm going to fade this one just because 75 is a bit high. He hasn't reached that number yet this season. And I just think that the tight ends that Mahomes can get the ball to will likely see a bit more targets. I mean, he's 25, 73, and then 17 in his last 3 games. So I would maybe take it if it was like 65, but 75 is a little high for me.
Yeah, 75 is a bit much, you know, because I mean, it's not like their offensive numbers have been blowing us out of the water. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? As far as them being consistently being able to roll over people and score a lot of points and have a lot of yardage. I just think that Mahomes just been magical as far as just he's been a game manager for the most part, getting it done. So I'd probably fade it also.
Yeah, I'm fading it too because, again, like Devin said, he hasn't reached 75 this year, and his highest targets was 6 last week.
Right.
Every game's been 4 targets, 3 targets, and his highest was 6 targets. He's not going to get a lot of opportunities, even with guys injured. Like last week, he didn't get a lot of opportunities with the ball being thrown to him. You add because Juju Smith-Schuster all of a sudden has been the main wide receiver target for Patrick Mahomes over the last couple of weeks, and even though, again, a lot's not there, 49ers play 2 safeties deep.
Yep.
Right? That's the type of defense they play, that type of cover, too, where they always have someone deep. So, and Xavier Worthy's not the type of wide receiver yet. He hasn't developed to be the type of individual who can find holes in certain spots of zones and be able to be a savvy veteran when it comes to being a wide receiver and dealing with those type of spots. And Patrick Mahomes trusting him to go to those type of spots.
And that's the big thing right there, trusting him to be open. You know, he doesn't have the same chemistry that he has, you know, with like you said, with Juju and, you know, Kelsey. So,
and think about Juju and Kelsey. Those are just like, okay, I'm older, I'm slower.
Yeah.
I find a slot to sit in.
Right.
And my quarterback finds me. Right?
Yep.
Xavier Worthy.
Do you think Juju goes off again? I was not expecting that, but I guess they're running out of options on offense, on receivers, but
I can see him doing 50.
Yeah.
I mean, go off is relative.
Right. I don't mean like.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I can see him going 50 plus.
Yeah.
Why
not?
Exactly. Why not? What do you think, Kenny?
I'm willing to bet against Juju, actually. I was going to say I think that Fred Warner will be on Kelsey a lot. They let him go off in the Super Bowl. I think that they're going to try to stop that in this game, and I think Juju Smith-Schuster will probably be on the 49ers' best corner, and the 49ers know that they're going to want to go to him as they did in that New Orleans game. They took a few deep shots to Worthy in that New Orleans game. They were able to get a pass interference but did not connect. I think in this game they are going to connect on one. That's why I did mention that Worthy will catch a 50-yard touchdown is one of my predictions for this week, because I think coming off the bye, they're looking to get their youngster going, because moving forward, guys, he's going to have to be one of the biggest parts of their offense, and I think they try to get him going this week in a big game against the 49ers. So let's go to another younger receiver, 75-plus yards for Jackson Smith-Njigba. Interesting statistic here. He's top 10 in the league in targets despite being second on his team. So Metcalf is seeing more target share, but he's still top 10 in the league. They're still looking to get him the ball. A.J. Terrell, star corner, will be on DK Metcalf more than likely most of the game. Might open things up for JSN, who's plus 260 for 75-plus yards. Are you guys alting that one?
Yeah. I'll take that. So Geno Smith I was surprised to see that he's first in the league in passing yards per game. Just because he doesn't really, I don't know. I feel maybe I'm underestimating Geno Smith, but he just doesn't strike me as like when I think of quarterbacks that are airing it out constantly. The Falcons pass defense, they're first in the league in yards per catch allowed. But like you mentioned, Geno Smith is throwing it a lot. And I think they're going to continue to do that, even though Kenneth Walker is an option. He's been pretty quiet. So I think that given the amount of targets Njigba gets, 75 isn't too far off. He had 53 last game. I could see an uptick in that, especially because DK Metcalf will be covered, like you mentioned, and he only went 3 for 11 last week. So not a great showing from DK Metcalf. So I will alt it.
I think I'm going to fade it. I don't know. You know, I like their defense. So, to me, it's going to be tough, you know, right now, because I like what what DK is doing. It doesn't matter who's on him at this point. You know, he's still going to get his. But, you know, I think Tyler Lockett has to step up a little bit, and I think this is the time where he steps up.
I got to fade it. It's only been once. Right? He's only had over that amount once so far this year. And Atlanta Falcons low-key have done well against wide receivers. They haven't had
2 great safeties.
They haven't had wide receivers really go off on them. Even when they played, you know how I feel about Mike Evans and Godwin, who went to Penn State. Both those guys had 63 and 64 yards in that game. Right? So those guys don't let up a lot of points. They haven't had a game where they had a receiver go crazy. Chris Olave, I think, had the most on them, and he had 87. right? And again, Njigba hasn't been getting those type of targets. He hasn't been getting those type of reps. So again, Atlanta Falcons with the safeties they have, and the fact that Njigba hasn't been great in general and with this team so far this year, I thought he'd be a little bit better number-wise. I'm going to fade it also.
I would flip that to Tyler, if anything. Tyler Lockett instead.
Could be a good one.
Interesting. I think we're behind the years of Tyler Lockett. I know he scored a touchdown last week, but I think that they're trying to start to transition to Jackson Smith-Njigba being the number 2 guy there. I'm a big Jackson Smith-Njigba truther. I think he's going to start to continue to be a big part of this offense. I think Seattle's probably going to miss the playoffs, but I think that they're going to need him to be a big part of their offense moving forward. I have him in a few fantasy leagues, so I'm a big Jackson Smith-Njigba guy. Let's go to probably the best receiver in the NFL. Justin Jefferson, 125 plus yards. I know it's a lot. It's at plus 250, but he did it twice against the Lions last year, going for 141 on 6 receptions in their first matchup, and then 14 for 192 in their Week 18 matchup last year. I'll start with you, Barrett. I know you were on Justin Jefferson earlier. Is he getting 125?
Oh, absolutely.
This week against the Lions?
Absolutely. You know, that defense, they don't have Aiden Hutchinson right now. I think Justin Jefferson has a great day against him. So yes, even with their quarterback being no star power, I really think that he's that good that he'll allow himself to be open enough to really be a force in that game. So yes, I'm going with it.
What you think, Dad?
125 is easy. That's easy money. What can I tell you?
I like it. I mean, you look at his past stats. You mentioned last year's, he got well over 125. I don't know what was happening in 2022. December 11th, it says he has 223 receiving yards against the Lions.
Yes. He's
oh my God, dude.
But
no, I mean, and then since he was really drafted into the NFL, he's pretty much gone off against the Lions except for 2 games. So yes, I will take it.
I'll take it. I'm hesitant. He's only had 1 game over 125 so far this year. But again, no Aiden Hutchinson. The Detroit Lions defense ain't that good, right? You can pass it around on them. And again, they've had a week. So I do think Justin Jefferson comes off and gets it done and does something big coming off a bye. So I'll pick it. Again, don't feel great about it. But I'll pick it because of Detroit Lions defense.
Don't worry about Sam Darnold, man. He'll get it to him. Sam will get it to him, man. Sam Darnold will get it to him.
Because Minnesota, and we're about to talk about this anyway, but Minnesota is definitely a team I haven't bought in yet, to be honest with you. Right. So that's why I'm like, Sam Darnold is good, but is he this good? 5-0, they're gonna continue this. They're gonna ball out, and everybody's just gonna be happy. Like, at what point are you gonna get an L?
It won't be against Detroit.
You said that last week.
I did.
About the Cowboys. It won't be against Detroit. I did. See, let that Detroit hate.
I had to wash my mouth out, man.
Get that Detroit hate out of your blood.
I got to, man.
All right. When we come back, we'll talk about the biggest games of the week, including the game that we just talked about. All right. We got that game. We got the 49ers and the Chiefs. We got a whole bunch of Jets, Steelers, a whole bunch of the bigger games to break down what we think is going to happen. Is it going to be predictable like it was last week, or is it going to be unpredictable like it was the first 5 weeks of the season? All right. Sunday Spread, Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. Welcome back to the Sunday Spread. Devin Caney, Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks. Now it's time for the big games. Let's break them all down. Kenny, hop back in here and tell us what big games we're talking about this week.
All right, let's do it. Lions and Vikings in Minnesota, huge NFC North battle. The winner of this game will be first seed in the NFC after this week. The total in the game is 50.5. The Vikings are actually favored -1.5. I think a few of you guys are going to be opposite sides in this one. Devin, I'll start with you. Where are you going, Lions, Vikings?
So I had the Lions as my underdog pick earlier in the show. I'm going to stick with that. I think the Lions are just going to ride the momentum from their absolute destruction of the Cowboys. The Vikings are a good team. Like, they haven't lost yet, clearly. I'm not saying that they're frauds. I just think that they're due, and Sam Darnold started to show some signs of like coming back down to the Sam Darnold that we've seen in seasons past versus what we've seen throughout 2024, which has been a great quarterback. But I just think that the Lions are on such a roll right now. It's going to be tough. I think a big factor in this game is going to be Aaron Jones and if he's fully healthy. I know that he's been kind of questionable in practice because of that knee injury. If he plays for the Vikings, I think that will give them a massive advantage. But assuming he is questionable in this game come game time, I just think the Lions, plus the spread is pretty small. I mean, -1.5 right now. I'm going with the Lions.
I'm also going with the Lions. And this doesn't even have, I don't have many analytical things to say.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Some of this is hate. Some of this is just, I don't believe any team is going to really run away with things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, that's not how it's been this season. Every team has been sort of knocked down on their pedestal after being great. Every team, after being sorry, has gotten a big time win to put them back into the conversation. So the way this year has gone, again, this isn't analytical. You can't take this to the bank. I'm not giving you facts. But again, after the Detroit Lions were so good and so offensively explosive, I think this is going to be a shootout. So go with the over. But after they've been so explosive and that they've been able to be so good and dominate and do all the things that they need to do, that the Minnesota Vikings are going to take an L in this game because I don't think they'll be able to keep up because, again, really good defense. I understand that, but their offense, despite having Justin Jefferson, isn't explosive as the Detroit Lions offense. And I think this is the time that they get sat down, right? Like, again, Kansas City Chiefs and Minnesota, I believe, the only undefeated teams left, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they're going to get sat down, both of those teams, at some point over the next 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks, maybe. I think Minnesota Vikings' turn is this time.
I mean, I really want to fade Detroit Lions. You know, I'm thinking Aaron Glenn, Brian Flores. You know, I mean, it's just, you know, Brian Flores just calls a better defense. My boy Camel Grugier-Hill is probably going to start this game because of injuries. You know, Blake Cashman is out. Then I think, you know, I don't know if Aaron Jones, like you said, you know, Dev, is healthy enough to play. You know, can Ty Chandler and Cam Akers, you know, fit the bill with him? And then I think to myself, I'm just hating just because I just want to hate against that defense. So you're right. I got to go with Detroit. So I'm going to fade. I'm going to fade the Vikings. I'm going to go with Detroit Lions. You know what I mean? I collected a check from him, played for him 2 years. I'm going to try to get on the bandwagon one time. You know, I love the, you know, Ty Montgomery and how he runs the rock. Yeah, I got to do it. I got to do it. I'm going to go ahead and go with you guys. I'm going to go with Detroit. You know, I mean, great out, you know, offense. I mean, if you look at both offensive lines are good. That's why these teams are good. The offensive lines are really, really good. You know what I mean? I mean, you got all pros just about every position on both, you know, both offensive lines. So they're so close in that aspect that I can't really fade them either way. So I'm going to go with Detroit. I think Detroit has a slightly better offensive line with their two tackles, Tyler Decker and Penei Sewell. So I'm going to go with them, the offensive lines.
And I'm looking at that over-under, 50.5 over.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Hutchinson being out,
Yeah.
50.5. Like, they're going to be, again, Minnesota Vikings, good defense.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Detroit Lions are so explosive. And
They're leading the league in scoring.
Yeah.
I mean,
And then
Amon-Ra St. Brown is just almost unstoppable.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then the Vikings there's no resistance on Detroit defense right now. You don't have a resistance. So
Yeah.
50.5 seems very low to me. What else you got, Kenny?
Yeah, I was wrong. I'm on the Lions as well this week. I've been a Vikings guy the whole season, but I think that this week the Lions just proved that they're the better team, and they do move on to 5-1 in the top seed in the NFC. Let's go to another big game at noon on Sunday. The Texans and the Packers, an AFC versus NFC matchup here. The Packers -2.5 at home. The total is over under 47.5. Barrett, what do you think in this one?
Like I said, you know, I think this is going to be a game where the Texans is going to feel slighted for you know, being underdogs in this game. I like Houston in this. I really do. Even with, you know, Laramie Tunsil not, you know, he I don't know if he's out yet, but you know, for sure. But if he plays, I know they'll definitely beat him real bad. But you know, even if he doesn't, I just like the way, you know, C.J. Stroud plays this game. I like the way Joe Mixon is running the rock. You know, to me, it's going to be a tight game. But I think I'm going to go with the Texans. Even though the Texans have a lot of injuries, especially, in the secondary. Kwame, my boy's son. I played against Kwame Lassiter, and Kwame Lassiter's my guy, and his son, his pops passed away, but Lassiter, his son was starting cornerback. He's out right now, and Jimmy Ward's out. But I'm still going to the Texans. I like their defense better.
I got the Texans too.
Okay.
Again, I picked them to go to the Super Bowl, so I guess that's part of it. Again, they're such a good overall team. D'Amico Ryans, again, I don't think their defense is great, but he's able to scheme things up and make them look really solid, while C.J. Stroud is able to Stephon Diggs, like, all right, Nico, you're out. Stephon's a number one also. Mm-hmm. So he was able to step in and make big plays. And, again, I think Joe Mixon is going to have a big game in this. I think both running backs have the potential to have a big game, but I think Joe Mixon is going to have a big game and control the time of possession.
I also have the Texans. I think that I agree with you on Joe Mixon. They can exploit the Packers' run defense. I also just think the Texans have a better defense, injuries or no. They're holding quarterbacks to mostly under 180 yards. Four of their last 6 games. Yeah. Texans are on a 3-game win streak. I think they keep that going against the Green Bay. I just don't. I've heard a lot of people say that this could be a potential Super Bowl matchup or a Super Bowl preview. I haven't been that high on the Packers either when they started winning more at the end of last season nor throughout this season. Like that, I think that they're a good team. I just don't see them as an elite team right now. It seems maybe they're missing like that one special piece on offense. But I don't think that they are legit contenders. Look, maybe they'll prove me wrong here. I think the Texans are just a better overall team right now.
Yeah, the Packers are not Super Bowl. Yeah. What are we doing?
Yeah.
They ain't got the guns. They ain't got the weapons. They ain't got the Pro Bowlers, the all-pro players. Like, they're a good young team that I think makes the playoffs.
Yeah.
And takes the next step. Again, I know they made the playoffs last year, but that was sort of, you got hot at the end and you barely made the playoffs.
Right.
But this would be a solid playoff team, and you add some pieces, you get better, and then the next 2-3 years, you're talking about Super Bowl contender. But
right.
This year, nah. Barrett, what you think?
Man,
about the Packers Super Bowl.
I just don't think right now they're mature enough right now to take that next step. Defensively, they're just not where you got a rookie defensive coordinator trying to coach these guys up, and they don't know what they want to be, what their identity is. Even though they got a great secondary. I like their secondary, but I don't like their front seven just haven't stepped up the way I thought they were going to step up. So,
got you.
They're just playing young.
What's next, Kenny?
All right, let's go to Barrett and Devin's Eagles, and I'll start with you, Sean. Are you going to be fading the Eagles this week, or any of you guys for that matter? Over under 43.5, -3. The Eagles are -3 against the Giants. Crazy to say, considering in a playoff game with these same 2 quarterbacks 2 years ago, the Eagles were a touchdown favorite. Now in a regular season game with the same 2 quarterbacks, the Eagles are -3. So, Sean, I'll start with you. Are you fading Barrett and Devin's Eagles?
Nah, no way. It's the Giants. Like, okay, I got a lot of hate in my heart, a lot of pettiness in my blood, but it doesn't go that far. Okay, I do think it's going to be an annoyingly close game because that's what the Eagles play.
Yeah,
right. That's just what they do. Like, hey, why aren't we up by 2 scores? Why is this close? Why does this team have the opportunity to win this game? I think it's going to be one of those games once again. Now, again, the spread is 3. So I still think the Eagles win, but I think it'd end up being, 24-20, something annoying of that nature. It's just what the Eagles do. They haven't had an impressive win. Like, they've had maybe 2 impressive wins over the last year and a half. Where you go from beginning to end, we dominated.
Miami.
Right? Miami last year. And I'm trying to think maybe one more early in the season last year, but that's it. Close
Buffalo,
games
probably.
Is what they do.
Yeah, Buffalo was a close game also.
What they do.
Buffalo.
And again, Jordan Mailata being out, I don't think the offensive line has great depth. I think Johnson come in and play decently, but they don't have great depth. And the Giants, the one thing they do is play well. Dexter Lawrence. Don't be surprised that Jalen Hurts has a turnover to make this game annoyingly close because that's what Jalen Hurts does nowadays.
Well, he did
So,
last week.
Yeah, that's true. He'll
He
get
did
back
not
to it, though.
last week. So I actually think, just going off everything Sean said, that this is the week the Eagles finally get that convincing win. They're well overdue.
Okay.
It's the New York Giants. I know Malik Neighbors is like questionable. I don't know if he's certain to return, but either way, I think Quinyon Mitchell will be all over that, and that doesn't really scare me too much. I think the Eagles are just the overall better team. We saw how much better Jalen Hurts looked when he has A.J. Brown, when he has Devontae Smith, when he has Lane Johnson back. I know Mailata is a loss, not the biggest loss. You know, when it comes to that offensive line, Fred Johnson has done a good job of stepping in several games already this season. He played poorly in Tampa Bay, but literally everyone played poorly in Tampa Bay. So we're going to flush that one.
Yeah.
I think that this is the week that the Eagles beat the Giants, cover the 3-point spread, but beat them by, I'm going to say, at least a touchdown.
Let me say this real quick. Malik Neighbors returned to practice today in full.
Okay.
Full practice?
Yes.
That's oof.
That's what I'm reading from these headlines right now. I didn't get a chance to click on the
What about
articles.
Devin
but
Singletary?
The headline says he played in full. Malik Neighbors will have a full practice on Thursday.
What about Devin Singletary?
I got to look that up, so give me a second. But go ahead.
But you know what? I'm along the same lines as Devin. You know, I just think that at this point, you know, if there's one team the Eagles have their card is the New York Giants. I think they lost in the past 10 years. They've only lost 4 times to the New York Giants. And I don't think this is going to be the 5th time. In from 2014 to 2024, they've only lost 4 times. So I think they keep this history going. They beat up on them, and they finally get a game in which, all right, they might be able to go into the 4th quarter and relax a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Settle down a little bit. I mean, we still are playing against Daniel Jones.
Another bold prediction. This is the game the Eagles finally score in the 1st quarter.
Oh, there you go.
They
There you
better.
Get the scoring going early. They
There
get
you
an
go.
early lead, and they hold it.
They better.
So, you know, yeah, I'm confident. I'm confident in their ability to win this game and win it convincingly. They should win it convincingly. Yeah, you know, I'm good with it. Yes, I'm going with it.
Devin Singletary limited in practice.
Limited
In
He'll
practice
probably
so
play
far
but
this week,
still.
so
They'll be all right.
he will probably play. Before we get to anything else, Nick Sirianni, all the drama he's been through. Now, Barrett, don't say what you said on television.
Okay.
Are you talking about when he almost made a oopsie on TV?
Yeah.
But
I saw that on Twitter.
all your thoughts, because I think your thoughts were opposite from a lot of people. 'Cause he was getting a lot of
my thoughts,
criticism.
yes.
You didn't give him a lot of criticism.
No, I didn't. I just think that he is who he is. And he's not in the same situation that most coaches are in, being in the dynamics of them wanting him to be who he is. They don't want him to be all, you know, tight and you know and you know, put in a position where he has to be, you know, oh, go sit down, so sit in the corner, coach. No, he wants to be front and center. He wearing his emotions on his sleeve, and the team likes that. The team wants him to be that way. The team wants him to be able to go out there and really, you know, be a head coach as opposed to just being a guy, you know, you tell go sit in the corner because the coordinators run their facet of the team. You know, he's a head coach. Head coach means he's the boss. He runs things the way he wants to run it. If he wants to tell a player to do this, then he has to carte blanche to do that. He's the head coach. And I think a lot of people in this city don't see him as being the head coach of the team. They just think he's just a figurehead, and he's not. You know, I mean, when I was playing, a head coach was the same way. It wasn't called a you know, a head coach was, you know, he would, you know, be on the defensive side, offensive side, and everywhere else. It wasn't a CEO coach. He was just the head coach. And I think, you know, we're wrong as a fan base to think that it's anything different.
Okay, we'll get back to that when we get out after break, and we'll get to a couple of other big games. Then we'll get to our best bets in the final segment. Once again, the Sunday spread: Devin Caney, Sean Bell, Barrett Brooks. Welcome back to the Sunday spread: Devin Caney, Barrett Brooks, Sean Bell. We were just having a off the mic conversation in regards to everything going on with Nick Sirianni. You just major point. Dev,
Uh-huh.
I'm sort of on the opposite end. I think he's a little. To me, I said he's a toddler.
Ooh.
Like, all right, no, you have all these emotions. Again, I have a 5-year-old,
Uh-huh.
right? My 5-year-old is less emotional than Nick Sirianni, right? Like, Nick, know where you're to direct your emotions, when to bring them out. Like, that's my only thing with Nick. It just, he splurts it out all over the place.
Oh,
I want to
wow.
cry now.
Pause.
That is a pause. I apologize. I apologize. I didn't see that one coming.
Yeah,
He just,
that was.
now I don't know how to say it. But they're all over the place.
He wears them on his sleeve. He
But
wears
they're
them on his
all,
sleeve.
like,
so-
know when to do what you do.
Read the
I-
Know when to be emotional. Know when, like, have emotional intelligence. That's what I hear a lot of women want from men.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah.
of things that men don't have.
No.
Have
they don't.
emotional intelligence.
Right.
The wo-
What is
Read
that?
the-
Women are okay
It's
with
reading the
that?
room. It's
Women
reading
are
the room.
okay with you being emotional. Just have intelligence about it. Know when to do it. Know how to do
Well,
it.
and that's how I feel about Sirianni. I don't mind the emotions, and I never have. Like, I actually like it as long as you can back it up with a win and a good team and a good coaching performance. I don't care about him yelling at the fans. I really don't. I think people are way too mad about that. I think
I don't
people
care
are
about that either.
way too mad about him bringing his kids into a press conference. If you haven't been paying attention, Nick Sirianni's been bringing his kids into press conferences since he began coaching, and probably before he was a coach in the NFL.
Yes.
It's just something that he does. He loves his kids. He wants to share it. I think in that particular moment, after a win like that, maybe he should have read the room better, like you talk about, Sean, and not done it. If you think that is going to stop Philly sports media from asking tough questions, you don't know Philly sports media, because they do not care. It does not matter if you have a child sitting next to you. Like, you're still going to get asked the tough questions. What I care about with Sirianni is, what is your role in this offense? Because it does not look like a Kellen Moore offense. And we talked all offseason about how, Kellen Moore was going to be really running the offense and Sirianni was just going to kind of take over the CEO head coach role. But anyways, yeah, I know we can move on to another game. Yeah. My thoughts on Sirianni are just that I think he's set up to fail this season. And I think that, honestly, we're all being a little too harsh on him.
I'll be honest with you. I think he set himself up to fail. Look at you, Barrett. Look at you.
Going on.
Look at who we don't even know. We got a new co-host in here giving out advice and
it's
giving out stuff.
Silent. Yeah. My fault, fella.
Again, I just think, Nick, be smart. Again, be smarter, be more intelligent about when you do these things, and you'll be fine. But again, the only thing I'll add, I know we got to move on, is it Nick Sirianni's offense or is it his fault, or maybe Jalen Hurts can only run a type of offense?
Exactly.
And Kellen Moore has
but
to
that's
run
what
that
I'm saying.
offense for Jalen Hurts.
These are the things that we should be focusing on when we're analyzing the Eagles. It's like, clearly there's a common denominator here. Is it Jalen Hurts? Is it Sirianni? Is it Kellen Moore? I don't know.
Maybe it's all.
Maybe that's what we should be focusing on, instead of like, he brought his kids into a press conference.
Right.
Let's debate it.
Right.
And like,
right.
No, come on. Let's talk about what's happening.
I could care less. I just want to know, why we aren't taking advantage of the middle of the field. When we start attacking the middle of the field, we have great results. Why is it that we have to turn around and wait for them to do that? I don't know.
Again, it speaks to his incompetence and unintelligence throughout entirety of things. And Kenny, I know you hate Nick Sirianni, so I know you're on my side when it comes to what the hell is he doing. But let's get to another game, the next big game. What you got?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Nick Sirianni. Enough of him on our show for now until the Eagles do get that big win. And they show that because look, I mean, the Eagles are a super talented team. If they're going to be held back by him and his antics, that's just going to be frustrating for everyone, not only their fans, but a football fan like me who just wants to see Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts do great things and not be held back by their coach. So Chiefs, Niners.
Great. Yeah, you're right, man. You're right about that, kid. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. We just want to see a good product, and we don't want Nick Sirianni and his antics to ruin that. So Chiefs, 49ers, Sean's Niners. So I'll start with Barrett or Devin, whoever has a stronger opinion about this game. If you guys do, I do, because I'm fading the 49ers here. I've been against the Chiefs all year long, but look, at plus money, I don't think you can go against Patrick Mahomes. coming off a bye, Andy Reid. I mean, it's just set up perfectly for the Chiefs here. Of course, they're dealing with injuries, but so are the 49ers. I like the Chiefs here. Is anybody on board with me?
I'm definitely on board with you. I just don't see how, with the rash of injuries that the 49ers have right now. And, I mean, do they have a healthy kicker right now? I don't know. I don't even know if they have a healthy place kicker.
I don't even know if they have a healthy running back. So.
Right. So I gotta go with Andy Reid and his ability to at least get things going in the right direction. It's too many injuries right now for me to go with the 49ers. You don't have a consistent running back. You don't have a consistency in the offense right now. No consistency in the kicking game. So how can they go in as favorites? What do they see in Vegas that says that the 49ers, even though they're playing there, the 49ers are 1.5-point favorites? That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy.
So I'm kind of 50-50 on this one. I actually came into the show, Sean, you'll love this, being on the Niners side of things, because so the stats are obviously all on the Chiefs side. We know how Andy Reid plays coming out of bye. Mahomes versus the Niners. I mean, his stats are like, they speak for themselves. I just think that the Niners were showing more signs of life, especially offensively, even though they are very injured. Like, I'm not denying that, especially in the run game, apparently in the kicking game as well. But I just think that they have the advantage here where you look at the Chiefs offense, they don't have Isaiah Pacheco. They don't have Rashee Rice. They don't really have that like stud receiver. Travis Kelce, yeah, he's improved, but he's really not as sharp and explosive as we have seen him. And he's not a dangerous threat, I don't think. I would almost be willing to bet more like Noah Gray props versus Travis Kelce when it comes to the Chiefs. Where the Niners last week, I mean, you saw Deebo Samuel over 100 receiving yards and a touchdown. George Kittle, 2 touchdowns. Brock Purdy is still throwing the ball really well. He threw for 3 touchdowns. He had almost 130 rating. Their offense is still playing really well. And I think because of that, and they're going to want revenge for the Super Bowl, I like the Niners -1.5.
Wow.
I do. I think they break the Chiefs post-bye streak. I think they get their revenge for the Super Bowl, and I think that they win.
I've never heard you say that.
I know, it's gross.
I think the 49ers.
Watch me. I'm going to pull Barrett now, like how he picked Dallas last week and they got crushed. It's probably going to happen.
I think the 49ers could win. I just don't think conventional wisdom. We talk about injuries. The Kansas City Chiefs had 4 people on the injury report. The 49ers have 14 people on the injury report. And that doesn't include who's on injury reserve. Christian McCaffrey, Talanoa Hufanga, Dre Greenlaw, right? Like studs on the injury reserve, and then all of your injury report, your backup kicker's questionable. Are you going to have a kicker or not, right? So I just think there's so many injuries with the San Francisco 49er team. It's tough for me to pick them, even though I do lean on the same thing that I thought of the Minnesota Vikings of. This season is just one of those seasons where no one breaks away. Everyone's tight. People are going to take losses that they're not supposed to take. So I can see that being the case, especially because the Kansas City Chiefs haven't played great football. Patrick Mahomes hasn't played great football because his weapons have gone down. So I can see the 49ers winning the game. It's just the amount of injuries the 49ers have. And in every game, they get a new injury that affects the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, our kicker's out. We can't kick a 40-yard field goal. What do we do? So, yeah, I'm scared of that. All right, we got to go to Steelers-Jets real quick, and then we'll go our best bets.
Am I going first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Am I going first? So 2 teams both looking to give their offenses a spark with moves. Steelers are expected to start Russell Wilson. I don't know how much of an advantage that's going to have. I just think it's hard to bet against the Jets, who knowing Aaron Rodgers, and he brings Devontae Adams in, and notice how I refer to their GM and coaching staff as all just Aaron Rodgers, because I feel like it's just him running the show now. I feel like it's going to be him, hungry to prove that he was right with his GM moves. So for that reason, I like the Jets, but I don't love either side in this one because the Steelers' defense is so good. I could also see them totally shutting down Rodgers and the Jets' offense.
Yeah, I got you. I got the Steelers. I think that defensive line is just going to.
And they're playing at home.
Yeah.
Steelers.
Who you got, Barrett?
Yeah, I'm fading the Jets. I'm going with the Steelers. I do think that Russell Wilson's going to come in and have a very productive game.
Look at that, a Russ fan.
I'm not a Russ fan. I'm just saying, they're going to throw the ball very consistently, and Najee Harris is going to do his thing. So, on the offensive side of the ball, defensively, I mean, they're going to be beaten up on the mere fact that you think, A-Rod, you think that you can be the GM and come out here and play. No, we're not having that.
Ain't gonna happen.
Beating up on you.
All right, we got 2 minutes, so let's get to our best bets. Dev, start with you. What's your best bets for this week?
All right, so I like the Lions covering as underdogs plus 1.5 right now. That line actually moved. It was 2.5 when it opened earlier this week. I like the Eagles covering against the Giants and then some. Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry anytime touchdowns. Also, just over. Let's alt 50-plus rush yards to be safe for both of them. You can combine that. My anytime touchdown bets, Sam Laporta, Dalton Schultz, George Kittle. It's the week of the tight ends. Book it now.
Oof. Dev going Barrett this week. What you got, Barrett?
I'm going anytime touchdowns with Jonathan Taylor, Najee Harris for my running backs, and then and Saquon Barkley. And then I'm going George Kittle and A.J. Brown anytime touchdown. And I might add David Montgomery in that running back, parlay also. But then, I also like I still like I'm gonna leave it alone. I was gonna go with Lions, and I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna definitely go with the Eagles. -3. I'm taking that. I am taking I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. I'm taking that also.
I'm gonna go with running backs real quick. I got Joe Mixon anytime touchdown, Saquon Barkley anytime touchdown, Derrick Henry anytime touchdown, and Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdowns. Commanders facing the Panthers, easy money. I'm gonna go Scary Terry, to get an anytime touchdown in this game. He only has 4. I think he has a big game on this day, and I'm gonna pick him to go over 75 yards. A quick alt, not a big alt, but a quick alt. So I like those 2 teams, and just overall upsets, quote unquote upsets. I like the Steelers to get an upset victory over the Jets, even with Devontae Adams, just because I don't trust them, and I like the Texans over the Packers. Listen, that's been week 7 of the Sunday Spread, a spirited week where Devin went for the 49ers. And
who knew?
Just
Who
random things occurred in this show, and I said the Eagles gonna win, right?
Look at us.
Look at us. We're new.
See what happens when you don't wear a Mets hat. We can all get along.
Means I gotta wear it next week. All right, listen.
Oh well, they'll be out by then. So
you know what? Just end the show. Sunday Spread. We out.